Good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, good evening, good evening, good evening. My name is John Shaquille Poitier Jr. And welcome back to my podcast, Darling, I'm Depressed Again. Don't tell my mother, where we discuss mental health and mental health related topics in the youth, the elderly, primary schoolers, high schoolers, college students, tertiary school students, all nationalities, all creeds. Once you are a person, once you have life, once you are breathing, there is something for you here. It is my privilege and my honor to have y'all back for season three. This is our third year, our third time doing this. Thank y'all so much for keep coming. Y'all keep coming back. Y'all keep listening. Y'all keep engaging. I could not be more grateful. I couldn't be more happy. It's just wow. Now, before we get into the episode, there's always a certain word that I use to describe it, a certain word I use to get an understanding of it all. And the word for this episode is resolve. Okay? So, without a further ado, let's get into this conversation. So, people love to say to me, people will come up to me and be like, John, I want your brain. I want your creativity. I want the way you think. And a lot of times when people tell me that, I always say, be very careful what you wish for because I promise you, you don't. And I say that because people look at the achievements, they look at the accomplishments, they look at everything that's going on, but they very seldom see the process behind it. First things first, I have crappy time management on a whole new level. My time management is absolutely horrendous. It has gotten much better, but beforehand, it was absolutely horrendous. So I would literally, I know when I have a project, know when I have something to work on, know when I have something to do, I would stay in bed, doom scroll, get up, shower, sleep, eat, exercise, do whatever, and go lay back down. Pay no regard to the project, pay no regard to what has to be done, and just keep moving about my life as normal. And I had normalized it so much that I did not realize how dangerous procrastination was to me. I didn't realize how limiting procrastination was, especially for the resolutions that I had set out for the new year, for the things that I had claimed that I wanted for myself. I told God I wanted X, Y, and Z. However, I wasn't working towards X, Y, and Z in the way that He enabled me to. I prefer to just wait until last minute and then rush towards everything, rush towards everything. I have to get it done. I have to get it done. I have to get it done. And that was so, so damaging for my mental health. And the reason I procrastinated for myself personally, it wasn't because of burnout, because I recognize what burnout is. It's a very real thing. I take care of my mental, my spiritual, my emotional, my physical health in the ways that are required for me not to get burnout. Because once you hit that burnout, it's like, rah! So I take care of myself so I don't get to that point. But my procrastination stemmed from this need not to fail myself, not to fail the concept of what of what people thought of me, not to fail this ideal, right? That people held me to because people get to know me or people know my name and they think of hard work or they think of, oh, he's going to do this, he's going to do that, he's going to, go to this place, go places, he is going places. And I put so much pressure on myself not to fail those expectations that I began to procrastinate as a way to cope, right? I procrastinated to cope with not having to reach those ideals, with not feeling as if I was capable of reaching those ideals. And the more I procrastinated, the more I realized that I was not only not getting anything done, like anything at all, nothing was getting done, but also I began to feel worse about who I was as a person. I began to feel as if I was letting myself down, as if I was letting God down. I began to feel as if I wasn't doing enough with the blessing that God had given me. If I wasn't doing enough with my talent and my creativity and my intuition, and I wasn't working hard enough to maintain it and to excel it in the way that God wanted me to. And that in itself began to make me feel even worse mentally because now it's the thing of I have the ability to do this, but why is it that I don't? And I'm saying all of this because every year we set these New Year's resolutions. I want to go in the gym. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to be a better husband. I want to start cooking more at home. I want to make $1 million. I want to write a new book. And if you were like me and you are a person who deals with procrastination because of a fear of failure, I have to say this. My anxiety came from my inability to execute an action because I was unable to carry it out perfectly or what I thought of as perfect. So my anxiety itself came from the need to constantly be perfect, the need to constantly achieve the perfect task, the need to constantly perform the perfect task. And if you are like me and you're a person who gets anxiety just thinking about doing something because I want it to be done perfectly, I want it to just get done, you have to get rid of that mindset, because the more that I grow and the more that I learn and the more that I develop, I realize that perfection is a myth. Perfection is a myth because we will only ever be able to perceive something as perfect if it has nothing to do with us. I can look at my friend and think, oh, my friend did a perfect job with that. My friend did a wonderful, amazing, extraordinary job with that. But when it comes to us and we perhaps had to do the same task, I could have done this better. I could have done that better. I probably could have raised the bar a little bit for myself. I probably could have held myself to a different standard. We will never be able to be perfect in our own eyes because we are aware of every flaw, or more often than not, we are more aware of our flaws than others are. We are more attuned to our own faults than others will be. So, whereas others may look at us and see perfection, whereas others may look at us and see that we have it all together, we won't be able to achieve that same ideal of perfection because we're not saying the same thing in the mirror that that person is seeing when they look at us. And when it comes to New Year's resolutions, especially for me, I had to realize that in striving for perfection and constantly reaching for perfection, I was causing myself to become anxious because I thought that if I was not perfect, I would be letting myself and the people who believed in me and even God down. And you know what it is to think, oh my gosh, I'm letting God down. Like, God could think I ain't worth nothing. God ain't gonna love me no more. Like, what is going on? Like, God probably think I'm a piece of crap. Like, that's the mindset at times. Like, that's the mindset. And it's a mindset that has to be broken apart. It's a mindset that has to be broken apart. And it comes in part, for me at least, it comes apart from always trying to be the perfect child, always trying to be the perfect person, always trying to be the perfect friend, always trying to be the perfect brother or uncle or cousin or this, that, and the third, and always trying to be the perfect version of something, I failed to recognize the parts of myself that made me uniquely human. And in doing so, I was living a life that was not truly reflective of who I am as a person, just the ideal that other people have of me. And that's truly no way to live, because when you live based on an ideal rather than a genuine connection to who you are, you're bound to become anxious. You constantly have to keep up a facade. When you procrastinate, you constantly have to keep up a facade of I'll do it later. I'll do this later. I'll do that later. A facade of this perfection out on the outside, whereas, oh yeah, I do all of this, I get all this done. But on the inside, it's a thing of panic, a constant state of panic. And in a constant state of panic, when you have no peace, that's genuinely no way to live, because internally you are at war with yourself, and the outer perception, what people are perceiving of you, that will never be worth the peace that you will have internally if you say to yourself, I know that I am not perfect, but I can try not to strive for perfection, but to strive to do my best. So I had to start working on my resolve, which means finding the solution for a problem. I had to figure out, JJ, why the hell you always procrastinating? Why is it that you laying in bed, you know class start in what, 30 minutes, you still laying in bed? Now, I ain't gonna lie to you. Sometimes I lazy. Sometimes it's just laziness. Sometimes you just need to get up and wash your hair. That's all. Sometimes it's laziness. Sometimes it's straight up laziness. It ain't always anxiety. Sometimes it's laziness. I'm not gonna lie. But a lot of times, for me, it was the thought of having to put on this image. And mind you, no one has ever directly asked me to be perfect. No one has ever directly asked me to be the perfect person. No one has ever directly asked me to produce perfect work. No one has ever done that. But because of the way I understand or I understood people to perceive me, I used that interpretation and I built my concept of self and what I thought was most serving to those around me. So I thought perfection was most serving to the people around me. And in that perfection came procrastination, and in that procrastination came anxiety. And it's this continuous cycle of not thinking properly, not being able to frame my thoughts in any way that's helpful to myself because I'm in a constant state of panic that I'm not getting this done perfectly. And then if I don't get this done perfectly, people will understand that I'm not perfect. And then if people understand that I'm not perfect, then they're going to think of me in a negative way. And if people think of me in a negative way, then that means they're not going to love me. And if people don't love me, that means that I have lost my worth. So I tied my sense of self worth to how perfect I was as a person, how likable I was as a person, how able I was. And in doing so, I debilitated myself severely. I debilitated myself so severely, it was insane. Almost to the point where I would rather get yelled at, I would rather get insulted or demeaned or any of that rather than do the task and not have the task be like at 1,000%. I would rather get yelled at for not doing it at all. And do you understand how dangerous of a mindset that is? Right? To have a dream and rather than pursue your dream, you would rather fail at what you are doing because you don't want other people to think that your dream isn't good enough or that what you are doing, what you are attempting to do, isn't good enough. That can be so incredibly hurtful. And when it came to my mental health, especially in that anxiety and that way of thinking and those thoughts, and I know for me, I'm a Christian, so I know what the Bible says, right? In the Bible, God says, with everything, with do not be anxious. In everything, with prayer and thanksgiving, supplication, make your request known unto God, and He will give you peace. My problem came about, mind you. I pray into God, I pray into God, I pray into God. I realizing, hey, I ain't getting no peace. I pray into God again, I pray into God again, I pray into God again. I realizing, hey, I'm not getting any peace. I did not realize I was praying to God for a peace that I would not accept internally. So the way it works for me, especially within my faith, is that God will offer up the things that He promised, right? But if I was not willing to accept internal peace, then I would not receive it. And so I continue to be anxious. I continue to procrastinate. I continue to do all of these things that harmed myself because I was not willing to accept the peace. And how was I not willing to accept the peace? I kept procrastinating. Now, mind you, I gave an explanation for why I procrastinated, but that does not mean that it's an excuse. That does not mean that it's an excuse, right? Being able to explain the things that I do does not mean that they excuse anything. It does not mean that. It just means that I'm able to offer up an explanation as to why I do certain things, why I think in certain ways, why I operate in certain ways, right? Having trauma, or as it relates to procrastination, being traumatized by thinking that it's not going to be perfect, my end result, my end goal, whatever I am hoping to produce will not be perfect. Yes, that explains why I procrastinate, but it does not excuse me procrastinating. And I had to understand that, because when we have an excuse, we continue to develop in that same pattern. We continue to develop in that same habit and mindset. When we have an excuse, we are willing to say, hey, I don't mind effing up, because guess what? I have an excuse. So I can keep doing what I'm doing because it's okay. Rather than having an explanation allows us to understand that what is happening is not okay. And there is a conscious choice that we can make that can divert us from this path, right? So I had to make the switch between having an excuse versus having an explanation, because I understand that this can be used as an excuse. But if I want to grow as a person, if I want to grow within myself, I have to now use this as an explanation and continue to build myself up from there. So now, at base, the very first thing I have to do is stop procrastinating. Like, stop procrastinating. Immediately stop. Immediately, like, pause. Pause. Like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, just relax. I had to stop procrastinating. I had to. Because that was the very first thing that was causing me. Now, understandably, my fear of failure, anxiety, all of that has to and continues to be dealt with. But at the very first thing, the procrastination has to stop. Like, JJ, you gotta relax. Take a deep breath. Breathe out. Like, it gotta stop. You got to stop, because you're hurting yourself. You are hurting your mind. And that is actually how you end up, for me, burnt out. That's how I end up burnt out too. Because I procrastinate and I procrastinate and I procrastinate and I procrastinate and I leave everything for one specific day at one specific time. And then I use all my energy doing that one specific thing at one specific time. And then I am so exhausted and I am so just broken and dried out that I can't even operate anymore. Yeah. So, yeah, procrastination can cause burnout too. But first thing first, I had to stop procrastinating. And that came with being, for me, for being less arrogant. Because I came to understand procrastination as an arrogant assumption that you have more time. Now, that's what it means for me. So, for me, if I procrastinate, I am arrogantly assuming that I can always get this done. There is always a tomorrow for me to pursue this. There is always a next week for me to pursue this course of action. It can always be done. And I had to recognize that that way of thinking is so arrogant, because I quite literally do not know what the future holds in regards to me, in regards to what I want to do, in regards to what I hope to achieve. I am not aware of what the future holds. The only moment that I am aware of, the only thing that I am aware of, is the present second that I live in now. And I had to recognize that procrastination is an arrogant behavior, because I am assuming that there will always be more time for me to do something, without understanding that time is a limited resource as well. We do not have all the time in the world. We don't even know how much time we have left. And that's not to send anyone into a panic, into a frenzy, into a mental conundrum, or anything of that matter, but it is the truth. And so, to procrastination teaches you to be arrogant. And I try my best not to be arrogant. You know, sometimes I get called arrogant, but that's my confidence. That's not my arrogance. I try my best not to be arrogant. So if I'm saying that I want to be humble, if I'm saying that I want to work in humility, I have to first learn how to manage my time to make the most out of every second that I am alive, the most of out of every second that I am awake and walking in the present moment, because I don't know what's going to happen next. And when I began to stop assuming that I have the next moment, and I began to work at, like, directly, like, in that time, my anxiety began to go down. Like, my anxiety decreased tremendously because now I'm getting the work done, right? I'm getting it done without, even accounting for my fear of failing or any like that. I'm just getting it done. Point blank. Period. I'm getting it done. It has to get done. I'm getting it done. Could it be getting done better? I can't think about that right now because I'm too busy doing the work. Okay. Now, when it came to being afraid of failing, that's something that, and I believe it's a learned behavior from school. You learn things from childhood. Childhood really is, it forms who you are as a person. I must say, childhood, it really does form who you are as a person. But when it came to my fear of failure, because I would think of myself as not being able to achieve perfection, I had to understand that it's okay not to be perfect. And it's okay because there is no perfect person on earth. So if you are not entitled to perfection, what makes you think that I am obligated to be perfect? What makes you think that? If you are saying that I must achieve this to this standard and I must do this to this standard, but you yourself are not the perfect person. You yourself have faults and errors and things that you aren't capable of doing. Then why can I not be imperfect as well? I have the right to imperfection. I have the right to mess up. I have the right to make mistakes. I have the right to fail once, twice, three, four, six, seven, eight. I have the right to do these things because I'm a human being. I'm not going to be perfect. I'm going to mess up sometimes. I'm going to do stupid crap. That's the point of being human. That's the point of being human. You learn from your mistakes. You learn to be better. You learn to do better. And so, in my resolve, in my working to find a solution, I found that it would be better for me to do something imperfectly and make a mistake and learn from it than to not do it at all and remain in a stasis of just ignorance. It's better to be imperfect and to try than to never try at all and literally stay in this bubble of false perfection. It's better. And we may not always want to understand it like that. We may not always want to live like that in the understanding that we are imperfect. But the sooner that you embrace it, the sooner you release so much pressure from yourself that it's like, I can breathe. I don't have to be perfect for X, Y, and Z. I don't have to go to the moon right now. Maybe right now, instead of going to the moon, I could go to the grocery store. Instead of going to the grocery store, I could perhaps take out the garbage. I don't have to go to the moon right now. If it's on my bucket list to get to the moon, if it's in my vision to get to the moon, then by God, I'll get there one day. But for right now, I don't have to get to the moon, and I don't have to do that perfectly, at least not right now. We'll work on it. We'll work on it. So you have to find your own resolve to handling how you deal with your procrastination because everyone is different, right? Everyone is different. I can't speak for you. You can't speak for me. For me, it required a lot of internalized and I'm okay. It's okay if I'm not perfect. It's okay if I mess up. It's okay if I make mistakes. Hey, even the apostles made some mistakes sometimes. I mean, Peter cut off a dude there. I don't know. Like, it's okay if I do something wrong. It's like Judas betrayed Jesus. She was like, like, it's okay. It's okay. Like, they won't die. It's okay if you're imperfect, so long as you learn from it. And in recognizing imperfection, for me, for in recognizing my imperfection, I was able to switch the trajectory of my path, of my way of thinking from I'm constantly in panic mode, I'm constantly in a state of being frightened, to now I feel liberated by the fact that I am imperfect. And I now know that I can continue to genuinely be extraordinary, to genuinely be worthy of every gift and talent that I have, because I am committed to refining it and crafting it and working on it, even if it means that I may not be doing it perfectly every single second of the moment. I am getting there eventually. Eventually, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm not saying I'm there yet, but I'm getting there. Okay, I'm getting there. So yeah, that was the whole it was a whole battle. And even as I close out this week's episode, I want you to think of a moment where you perhaps thought you had to get something done perfectly, or you may have even thought that what you were doing wasn't good enough, wasn't up to someone's standard. And it filled you with this anxious feeling, and it caused you to procrastinate because you didn't want to fail. And when you think of that moment, I encourage you to sit down, write it out, and begin to understand, hey, I am imperfect, and this may get imperfectly done, but it will get done, and I will learn from it, and it will be better next time. All right. This has been this week's episode of Darling, I'm Depressed Again. Don't Tell My Mother. I am your host, John Shaquille Poitier Jr., signing off until next time.